Debbie and I have been married 44 years, and I remember very early on in our marriage, we made the commitment that what we wanted to do was to give back to our faith first. And growing up, I was always told that you should put your money where your mouth is. And our faith is very important to us, and so we made a commitment that we would give of our first fruits to the church. And I'm not just saying that because it sounds funny, it's true, we really did. Debbie developed a system that she's going to tell you about in a minute where we always put the church first. And as our kids grew up and we had the commitment to send them to Catholic schools, we made those payments the same way. We always paid off the church first, the schools first. And there were times that I can remember when Debbie would call people with other bills and she would say, I'm not going to give you a full amount this month, I'm going to give you this much. And guess what? Nobody foreclosed on us, nobody came after us. People were very understanding, but we always made sure that we paid the church first. Now this way that Debbie had of doing it is what I really want you to hear about. So Debbie, why don't you tell them?
Well, what I learned early on was that paying bills is a responsibility and not something that you can just arbitrarily say, well, maybe I'll pay this one this month or maybe I'll pay that one next month. So we set up a bill book, if you will, and each page was each month. And the top of the first line of each month was to the church. And we were fortunate over the years to be blessed with the more we were able to give, the more was given unto us.
And then something happened about 30 years ago. I decided to leave salaried employment and I started a business for myself. And in those early years of the business, income was kind of like this. It was like that in an upward direction, thank goodness, but it was up and down and up and down. And we would adjust our tithing, we would adjust it to what the income was, but I still think the real key to tithing is not so much the dollar amount as it is that's what you pay first. You first give those fruits back to the good Lord. And whether it's a large amount of money or a small amount of money, it's getting into the habit, it's doing it regularly, and it's doing it first.
And I went through a period of time when Jim was starting his business on his own, that I had a fear of financial insecurity. And so that was a good thing because of course it brought me to my knees. And that's always a good place to begin with anything that's fearful. And I found that God always had a way of directing the path. And if I stayed open to it and would continually ask for his help and direction. And we would pray together, we would consult together. I think that's a hard thing even in a marriage, regardless of tithing, is talking about money, and it's vitally important. So that was the precursor, if you will, to us being consistent about paying something every week. I couldn't do it every month because every month just sounded like I could put it off or put it on the back burner.
Yes, or there were times that she would look at me and go, oh my gosh, Jim, we're going to have to get some money out of savings because we ran out because of whatever. And that was fine because we also saved money. I think the whole point of it is when I hear people talk about they can't afford something, I think the real key is not what you can afford. The real key is budgeting for everything.
I think it's important to give because it sets all priorities straight. When I have that bill page in front of me, the first thing on there is to pay our tithe, and that puts God first. And I think for me, any exercise that encourages me to be thinking about that usually is a good exercise, and it reminds me that first I need to be grateful. I have to have an attitude of gratitude. I need to thank the good Lord for all the many, many, many blessings, and that's one way of doing it. And it's to me, it's a very demonstrative way of doing it. rather than just something ephemeral.
I also think there's a very practical reason to this. We need to give to Ascension because life's not free. And how many of those wonderful programs do you go to at Ascension? I don't care if it's the Fall Festival, I don't care if it's donuts and coffee on a Sunday morning, I don't care what it is, or just to go and use the facilities at Ascension. I mean, that's not cheap. It's not free, that's for sure. And there isn't some bucket of money that we have, in the basement of the rectory that they just take money out of every time they need money. We have to support the programs. And whether those programs are spiritual programs or they're programs that involve buildings, or they involve getting people together, or they involve hiring other folks, or whatever it is, it costs money.
And for me personally, I've just found online giving is just invaluable. I do most of my bill paying that way now. I don't write checks. I don't do that kind of thing, but I still have that.
To me once in a while.
Yeah, every once in a while, dear. I do tend to I still have my paper, which is pretty laughable, but I'm a visual learner, so I need to write it all out and see it. But ultimately, to know that I've made this commitment and this is the way it's going. The beauty of online giving is that it is adjustable. I can go in and make a change. I can go in and add an additional donation to a specific cause. We've set up monthly giving to Reach Out and to St. Vincent de Paul because we very much believe in those missions. So whatever flexibility you need, it's available through online giving. But I think like the budget is easier for me if I have the budget and I know what my expenses are. I think that's doing a favor to the parish so that the parish knows what kind of money they can count on a week-to-week, month-to-month, year-to-year basis.